everybody, it's psychic medium Nicalene speaking from Cape Town, South Africa. We are still experiencing some rolling blackouts, which we refer to as load shedding. At this stage, it's around about 11 to 12 hours a day. So forgive me for the lighting and all the other things that happen. Without any further ado, today we're looking at 3 piles to see what healing messages the fairies have in store for us. There we have the 3 piles. The pile 1 is with the iron-stained fairy quartz. Pile 2 is with the amethyst or the purple fairy quartz there in the middle. And the 3rd pile is the one with the long finger fairy quartz, sometimes also called the witch's finger. Fairy quartz is an amazing stone. It's got all the properties of quartz, except the only difference is that it is made up of a whole tiny little bunch of small crystals that are joined together. It's only found in one place in the world, and that is in South Africa. Fairy quartz is a lovely stone that brings courage. It encourages cooperation. It gives us clarity. It's a very positive, peaceful, and harmonious energy that comes off fairy quartz. And the wonderful thing about it, and I think it's very useful at this stage of where energies are in the world, is that it transforms and transmutes negative energy into positive energy. But having said that, you take your pick, 1, 2, or 3, and let's see what the hidden messages are. Welcome back, pile 1. Your 3 cards are creative expression, follow your dreams, and inner child. I must say I love the illustrations on these cards. So as I have a look at these cards, the very first thing that comes to my attention certainly is the feeling of transformation. So it's expressed in terms of the butterflies behind her, the cherubs that are floating around her, and then also the wide open space that this fairy is flying into, and the innocence with her holding that teddy bear there. So this very much talks to me about expressing deep emotions that you've had in yourself. So it may be a good time for you to take some time out to really go through your hopes, your dreams, things that you possibly had hoped to achieve years ago, maybe that you just haven't got to, or possibly months ago for some of you that you just haven't got to, or that you had to put to one side because of life and responsibilities and having to do all those right things. So these cards really talk to me about getting back to expressing your internal self, your inner child, that part of yourself that isn't afraid of making mistakes, that isn't afraid of disappointing people, that isn't afraid of doing the wrong thing or not having enough time or not knowing how to do it. So the inner child, as those of you who are parents or that have spent time around children would know, that a child works a lot on trust, and they tend to just do things. Sometimes it might, especially in young children, they tend to do things without considering the consequences, or considering the consequences from their point of view, which might not be our point of view as adults. But this is all about giving yourself permission to paint outside the lines, giving yourself permission to relax, to make the mistakes if that's what you need to do while you're busy learning, to create an outlet for your creative expression. And all of this will lift your vibration and your experience up to that vibration of joy, which is the enjoyment. All right. So when you are in joy, you are enjoying. So this is also about just for a little while, finding a way to let go of your goals and your judgment and your responsibilities, all those other shoulds, and to just play for a bit, and when you spend time with children, or when you spend time being childlike, or expressing your childlike self, that brings out this feeling of, it's almost like your soul becomes transparent, because you almost give yourself permission to make mistakes. There's no rights or wrongs when you're being childlike. So these cards really tell me about, taking the time to really have a look at the world, or at your situation, or at your downtime through the eyes of a child. Marveling, because we all know, if you've ever been around a child that's seen something for the first time, whether it's a blade of grass, or hearing the birds sing, or seeing a tree or a flower, or the clouds floating across the sky, the child is absolutely mesmerized. They're like, wow, look at that. That's, it's unexplainable to them. And as adults, we tend to lose that. We sometimes regain it a little bit in our dreams, and I think a lot of us try and work towards that. But life has a way of making adults a little bit more cynical, because we think we know how things work. And your cards are really encouraging you to remember that everything is a miracle, the same way as it's a miracle or magic for a child. We need to, as adults, stop suppressing those simple joys, and start enjoying those simple joys, because our inner children, if we allow them to come out and play, can and will love everything that we experience, from the most simple dreams, or spending time playing in the garden, or seeing the butterflies, or watching the clouds. All of those very simple things brings a lot of joy and almost unconditional love of the world and the surroundings to children. And these cards and the fairies are reminding you to get back to that. Get back to a stage where, you're so peaceful and so tranquil that the butterflies will just land on your hand, and you can just marvel in their magnificence. So maybe it's a time for you to take some time out to reconnect with that innocent side of you, whether that's through watching a comedy show, or thinking about your favorite moments and reliving them, in your memories. Giving yourself, maybe even for some of you, giving yourself an internal hug, or getting back to that feeling of safety that as a child, when you hug your favorite toy or teddy bear, all's right in the world. Now I've got my blankie, or now that I've got my teddy, or whatever the case is. So finding that side of you, to give yourself a little bit of that feeling of groundedness, or that feeling of safety. Knowing that you are always in control of your dreams, you are always in control of the direction in which you are moving. And sometimes that direction needs to just be to do nothing, to take some time out to dream. So the fairies are also encouraging you to maybe take some time out on a daily basis, if you can manage it, to spend even 1 minute, 60 seconds of every day. And 60 seconds sounds like a short amount of time until you're actually doing it, and then you suddenly find that it's actually longer than what you think when you've got it on the clock, when you are daydreaming. So they just say, take some time out every day to daydream for a little bit, and allow your mind to just wander, Wonder, because we all wonder anyway, or we all allow our minds to wander off, but usually it's in the direction of negativity or problems or what's happening in the world or politics or weather or whatever all these adult responsibilities are. But the fairies are encouraging you here to take some time out to daydream about positive things, allowing your mind to wander off into a perfect world where you can do or be or have anything that you choose. And they're saying for you to choose happiness, for you to choose relief, for you to choose the releasing of fears and the enjoyment that comes with putting your burdens and your baggage and your responsibility down for a little while, just a few minutes, if that's all that you can manage. So maybe now would be a good time for you to take a look at your schedule and your routine, and to maybe see where you can actually delegate some tasks that can make some time for you to look after yourself, even if it's for, as we said before, a couple of minutes, once or twice a day. Because if you can spend the time thinking about negative stuff, then of course you can take some time that can support you positively in your hopes and your dreams. And we all spend some time of every day thinking about the negative. Well, yeah, in South Africa it's the consideration of the blackouts, the load shedding. Oh my gosh, what do I need to do, because that's going to happen next, so I need to plan carefully. But part of that might be, well, I need to plan carefully to make sure that, we've got the food cooked or whatever the case is. But then also in this scenario, to plan, well, while it's down, what are we going to do that can nurture our inner child? Maybe it's to plan to do some board games, or plan to walk around in the garden if you can't use any of your, devices. Or maybe it's to sit outside in the night sky, obviously in a safe place, and just be when it's black all around you, and just to enjoy some time out for that little while. So this is the kind of thing that they're saying. It's like, once you've done your adult responsibility stuff, and even if there's a so-called negative that happens as a result in your adult world that we can't change, try and see how you can change that so-called negative into something positive, as just described. Another thing that comes up here is that for some of you, it might be something to play with your inner child, is to get some magazines and newspapers, that kind of thing, and cut some pictures out and create some vision boards, so that you can visualize a reminder, or you can create a visualization of, or that creates a reminder of all the things that you would like your life to include, if your dreams were given an opportunity to express themselves. So that might be a good thing for the family to do as well, or for you to do as an individual. And that's a way for your child to express themselves as well. You could do it through, writing a story, for those of you that like writing, or for you to draw a picture, for those of you that are slightly more creative or artistic. But I think here that the most important thing is about nurturing yourself. So expressing that creative expression is very much in your sacral chakra, which is for women, it's in the area of the womb, so just below your navel and above your pubic area. And that is also about safety and security and creative expression and problem solving, that kind of thing. And this card very much talks to me about that. So finding ways to express yourself in a way that creates a better outcome, or a better feeling outcome for you, whether that's through art or music, or being out in the garden and planting plants, because that's also a way of expressing your creativity. And for those of you that are currently unable to go outside because of the weather and the season that you're in the Northern Hemisphere, it may be, making snowmen or throwing snowballs at each other, or being inside near the heater, keeping nice and warm and comfy, and making inner child that nice hot drink, and doing a puzzle, or painting, or coloring in, or doing any of those childlike things that can just take you out of what you would expect an adult to do, but allowing that inner child just a little bit of expression, that they can feel happy on the inside, and allowing their mind to drift up in order to almost make space for good ideas to come in. Now, that's what I found for myself, is that as soon as we start, focusing on the inner child, it's almost like all the stuff clears out, and we can think more clearly, more expressively, and the solutions do tend to come through. And these little butterflies over here, just they bring to mind solutions and good thoughts and opportunities that you hadn't focused on up until that point. So yes, this little bird over here, it's got wings, it can fly. So allow your mind to fly, allow your mind to drift away, and take you to places that you haven't been to before. As children, we make believe, we can be the princess, we can be in the castle, even though it's a stack of twigs and leaves in the garden. We can use our minds to travel to those places and embody those personalities that make us feel good at that time. And as an adult, the fairies are saying that will bring you a lot of healing if you had to engage in that side. So imagine, just for a day, if you were in the position that you would really like to be in, imagine if your wish for whatever, whether it's a work position or a financial position, if that were to be granted to you today, imagine how your life would be. Imagine living that life. Imagine going through that day and expressing yourself in that way, and paying for things easily. And imagine if you've been battling your health, with your health, that maybe your health is perfect, and when your health is perfect, you can go out and climb mountains, and explore streams, and go places and do things that maybe you aren't capable of doing at the moment. So this is where the fairies are saying, yes, reality is reality, but your mind isn't restricted to reality. So let your mind go out and play for a bit in that perfect world. If you just give it permission, it can do that. And from that, physically speaking, in the actual reality, you will get the relief from that. So that's all for now, pile one. I hope that helps some of you. As always, if you found any value, we're such a young channel. We'd really appreciate all the subscribes and likes and comments that we can possibly muster. And we thank you again for your support. So until next time, you take care, stay blessed. Bye for now. Hello, pile 2. You chose the beautiful amethyst cards are Stand Your Ground, Body Movement, and Detoxification. So what these cards talk to me about is that it might be a good idea for you to take some time out to maybe spring clean some of the heaviness that has been around you for a while, whether that is mental or emotional or physical. They're just talking about, taking stock of your life and letting go of what no longer serves any positive purpose in your life, because a lot of times we feel like we can't deal with that right now, so we put it to the side, and we tell ourselves, oh, I can't deal with that right now, I'll deal with you later, and we never quite get around to it, which ends up accumulating a whole bunch of emotional baggage and all of that. And it stays until we do deal with it. So now might be a good time to, follow your internal guidance that encourages you to do more of the things that we all know is good for us and less of the stuff that we know makes us feel bad or sad. So to any toxic thoughts or emotions, we're all very aware that they can affect our bodies and our experiences as surely as, drinking poison does. So some self-care would really be a good idea at this time. As usual, whether you are in the southern or the northern hemisphere experiencing summer or winter, it is a good time for you to stay hydrated and to be aware of your nutritional and dietary needs, and make sure that those are being met. And then obviously if you're in really cold climates or wet climates, those are other things that you need to take care of physically, okay? So, and even for those that are going through the heat waves down here in the southern hemisphere, your fairies are just saying take care of your physical self as well as your mental emotional needs. So the middle card, the body movement card, they're just saying there again, listen to your body and your body's needs. Not everybody can physically get up, put on a pair of running shoes and go out for a jog, and even some of those that can do that are maybe not inclined to do that, and that's perfectly fine. But moving, stretching, dancing, playing, exercising, just sometimes moving outside of your normal comfort zone. So if you always sit in a certain chair, maybe sitting in a different chair to do the same task, or if you always drink your hot drink in a certain place, maybe shifting over a little bit and creating that physical body movement can actually open you up to almost receiving new or different messages or creating new perceptions of the world by something as simple as sitting in a different chair does. Excuse me. Human bodies are designed to move, so see how you can include movement in your day. And as I said, even if that means, getting into the habit of standing or stretching regularly during your daily routine. Be mindful of what's going on in your body. And it is a well-known medical practice for people that have had brain injuries, for instance, strokes, where they put a mirror on to reflect the side of the body that does work, and they do the exercises with while you're watching, while the patient is actually watching the mirror, so that the brain perceives that both sides of the body works. And that creates new neural pathways, and somehow it strengthens the side of the body that's at that particular time maybe isn't functioning as it should or as it could. So they're also just talking to me about if you can't do everything that you want to do because not everybody's able-bodied, to maybe use that either an actual mirror, or to use your mind to reflect that which would how you would like to what you would like to experience. So your mind can't tell the difference, or your subconscious mind can't tell the difference between reality and fantasy. So if you had to imagine putting on your shoes and tying your laces and going outside and actually going for a jog, you would get weirdly benefit out of that physically, because your heart rate would increase and your breathing would change if you actually going through that daydream of being there and hearing the sounds and smelling the smells and experiencing, the tacky hitting the tar type of scenario. So by you taking some time to use your daydreams to actually physically move you within your imagination, they're telling me that would you would benefit from that. So that all that dancing in the mind is going to definitely benefit you physically in quite a big way if you allow it to. They're also talking about, in all of this, as you self-care and as you do what's good for you, please also just be aware that external opinions can influence your decisions and your choices. So just be aware of how other people may try and pressure you into doing what benefits them. And you're also just being reminded that your own needs and wants and choices and desires are just as valid as other people's. So this is just talking to me very much about speaking your truth, not only to yourself, but to others, gently and firmly, because we don't want to go and looking for fights, but to respect yourself so that other people can respect you too. And this fairy is just holding this long wand with this quartz crystal on the end, which talks to me about points of focus. So the quartz crystal, first of all, is a master healer crystal, and they use the quartz points in order to direct energy, and they use that in technology. As you know, quartz does get used in watches and computer chips and all sorts of things, and it's to direct the energy. So they are reminding you, the fairies are reminding you to direct your energy in a way that is not only is a positive, but it's also healing with the master healer. She also looks like she stepped out from that, looks like a doorway. So it's like she stepped out from the doorway, and I want to say it's like she's defending her turf, or she's stepping out from where she was into where she is, but she's stepping out in her full power. And I feel like if you can let go of all of this stuff, and if you can give yourself a chance to actually spend some time considering a better or different or more positive reality, where, all those mushrooms to me would indicate without restriction, or letting the restrictions that you thought were in place to spend some time considering, if they weren't there in a perfect world, if you didn't have the pressures that you had, who would you be? What would you do without if other people weren't telling you who to be and what to be, who would you be? So taking your authority back and standing in your authority and standing your ground for what's good for you, and expressing that. And as I said, the fairies are very powerful, but they're very gentle, and they do things sort of behind the scenes, in a way that's non-confrontational. The little dragonfly that I'm seeing here is also just talking to me about quick change, and being, the dragonfly spends half of its life in the water and the other half outside of the water. So this is about moving out from emotions and moving out from the murkiness of belief systems into maybe the clarity of desires. It also talks to me about, listen to your intuition, but don't drown in emotion. Don't get caught up in all of that. There are some beautiful options available to you. I'm also just seeing the full moon here above the dancing fairies that are dancing in that fairy circle, and the full moon just talks to me very much about it's almost like the sun comes up in the middle of the night, so where if some of you are going through a little bit of a bad patch, or a little bit of a negative patch, or you can't see your way through it, that talks to me about hope. So things are in the process of changing. Things are getting better, and this little fairy playing the lyre down here and the flute over here. And there's one playing a little guitar or something along those lines. Those that just talks to me about, making music, making creating the beat that you can on your own drum that you can then walk towards. But most of all, what it talks to me about is having fun. Put on some nice music, put on some music that makes you want to, I'm going to say playfully bop and jive, that makes your head want to move and your body want to move, because it's energizing. And I feel like that is very much needed for Pile 2. But yes, getting back to basics, Pile 2, finding yourself, letting go of everybody else's stuff, everybody else's expectations, dropping all of those, cleansing yourself off, and then standing in your authority with that point of focus to head you in the direction that would most benefit you. After you have considered everybody else's stuff, it still comes down to, what do you want? Nobody can make you do anything. If you do something because they've made you do it, what you've actually done is you've done it, you've made the decision to do what they've done, and you've given up your authority. So just remember that we've all got a whole lot more authority over our own lives than we might sometimes believe that we do have. So that's it for us, Pile 2. I hope that has made sense to you in some way. I love the illustrations on these cards. We're still a baby channel, so I really would appreciate some likes and subscribes, some comments. Let us know, does this resonate with you? And until we meet again, if you want to have a look at any of the other piles that may have appealed to you, or if you want to come back on a different day and pick a different pile, you're welcome to do that. But until we meet again, you take care, stay blessed. Bye for now. Hello and welcome, Pile 3. You chose the beautiful fairy quartz. That is the lady finger or witch's finger. Such a lovely crystal. So the message that the fairies want to share with you today comes across in 3 cards. The first card is Rise Above Your Problems. The middle card is Self-Reliance. And the third card is Positive Expectations. So what these cards, the very first thing that these cards talk to me about is that you are and should be, and you need to be, your own best friend. You are able to provide for yourself emotionally and physically if you give yourself permission to do so. You are the only person on earth that knows exactly what it is that you need, because nobody else can read your internal thoughts and know your internal workings of your minds, your hopes, your fears. It's only when you express those that others then become privy to them. So they are talking about giving yourself permission to physically and emotionally provide for yourself. And if you can't do the big things, the fairies are encouraging you then to do the small things. Being dependent doesn't mean that you have to give up your independence. For those of you that need to physically rely on others. You can have independence in thought, independence in emotion, independence in expression. So they're also talking to you about filtering out negativity that may be influencing you, having a look at your own inner voice. And when you start seeing or screening your inner voice through a more positive lens, you will start feeling a lot better. For those of you that haven't been feeling quite like themselves lately, the encouragement there is to rise above your problems by changing your point of focus, your positive expectations. Because so many things are going on in the world at this stage, we do tend to, we're surrounded by so much bad news that we do tend to almost focus on that bad news a lot of the time. So they're just talking about, seeing your situation from a higher perspective. You may see opportunities or solutions that were previously hidden if you, if you take a step back and start looking at things from a slightly different perspective. Because the way I always express it, even to my own family, is that when you're in a hole, all you're going to see is the hole. The only way you can see how to avoid the hole is, first of all, dig yourself out of the hole, and then once at the top, then you can see what the landscape looks like, and then make plans to be more careful and have your eyes open to avoid falling down another hole, because you can have learned from that experience. And this is what the fairies are very much talking to you about today. I must tell you, if you hear strange noises, I do have a snoring cat at my feet, and I have a snoring and scratchy dog, and next to me as well. So with all the pets here, it does provide for some interesting background noise. And of course, we are currently load shedding, so the lighting might not also be what it usually is. So when we take a step back from all of that, we also need some positive expectations that things are going to work out the way that they should, in a very practical way. So we're busy making practical solutions there. So yes, using your stepping back and seeing things from a more creative, maybe practical place will also provide you with some solutions that maybe weren't available to you while you were still in the hole. All right. So they're also talking about, when you can only rise above it. It reminds me of the hot air balloon. When the hot air balloon wants to rise higher, it's got to let go of those weights that hold it down towards the ground. So they're talking about letting go of your baggage, letting go of your any emotions or any experiences or any other people's opinions that maybe is keeping your hot air balloon from being at the down near the ground, in the doldrums, and allowing yourself to get that wind of opportunity and change to fill that parachute, fill that hot air balloon to get you to rise a little bit higher. So finding emotions of faith and hope within you, or feelings of enjoyment by focusing on things that have worked previously and that are going right now. And even if it's the appreciation or the gratitude for being inside on a cold day, or being cool on a hot day, or enjoying the drink that you've prepared for yourself. So finding those positive things in an otherwise pressurized world, with all of the the news and the politics and everything like that, and the decisions that we have to make. And a lot of people go through some tough times, and it's been a tough year for a lot of people. So putting all of those things down and seeing what it is that you can practically do to make you feel just even a little bit better, will help you to rise above your problems, even if it is just for a couple of minutes or a couple of hours or days. And that will allow you then to create different decisions and have a different experience, which I think is a very positive experience. So hand over your problems, while you get on with other stuff, because your problems are still going to be there. You can always pick them up later. So while you busy your stuff with stuff that does make you feel good, we can just hang those problems on the peg at the front door, until you're ready to deal with them when you go out again. All right. So they're also just talking about trusting that everything does work out in the end. And I think this is where those positive expectations come through. No matter how dark it seems to be outside, you can see this fairy, most beautiful illustrations, that there is still light there. There is still color there. There is still hope there. So keeping your hopes and your dreams and your affirmations and your visualizations and your expectations and your prayers and all of those things, keeping them positive, they can then take form in pure potential and can begin their journey into physical manifestation. Because there is, for any of you that have studied anything that is vaguely spiritual, would know that everything needs to start in the mental level. So thoughts become things. The whole world is mental, so it's got to be created within your own mind before it can be expressed in a physical way. And this is what the fairies are reminding you. Yes, we know that sometimes it really does take longer than we would like it to, but somehow if we just keep putting, the work in and keep staying focused on the outcome or the desire of the outcome that we're wanting, somehow the universe always finds a way to bring that energy in, to bring those experiences in. Maybe not exactly the way that we would have expected them to be, but sometimes it's, in the long run, it actually works out better. So by staying focused on the expectations, the positive, the outcomes, the desires that you're looking for, gives the energy the direction to go in. Remember that we live in a literal world, so whatever you ask for and think about is what you will get more of. So the only time that this, that you don't get what it is that you want, or when it doesn't happen, is when you actually undermine your dreams by shifting your positive expectation or emotions, or when you stop doing the work, when you stop focusing on what you do want and start focusing on what you don't want, or on the lack of the lack of the situation. So they say that, action-orientated steps are always needed to bring your expectation into fruition, because nothing, as we know, unfortunately, falls out of the sky into our laps. And our emotions are the most accurate indicator of where our energy is actually focused towards. So check your emotions, stay focused on your goals. But if you focus on your goals and you're feeding a negative emotion, that's a strong indicator that you're probably not going to get what it is that you're focused on, because what you're doing is you're sending out the energy of not getting. And then it's pretty pointless to be focusing on something that you don't want. Because that, the whole point of our visualizations and our positive expectations is to get more of what it is that we focus on. So it might be a good idea for you to maybe take a little bit of stock, to focus on where you want to go, what you want to experience, and make sure that your emotions align with those expectations, those dreams, those desires. And that will also help you to fulfill that self-reliance, because nobody else can make you feel in any specific way, or make you your emotions behave in any specific way. You are in complete control regardless of what goes around you. Yes, I know that there's a lot of manipulative people out there and situations that can manipulate our emotions. Advertising is designed in that way, and headlines are designed in that way to get an emotional response. But at the same time, when we're aware of that, we can then control it. So we can acknowledge it. It might shock us, or it might take us by surprise, or it might grab our attention. But then we can get to choose. We're self-reliant enough to be able to choose what it is that we do with that information. Sometimes, shifting our point of focus and rising above those things to go, no, that might be great. It's nice to read that headline so I know what's going on, but now I'm going to focus on what makes me feel better, what rises me above this. So thank goodness I don't have to deal with that today. I can deal with this other more important, more positive thing today. So the fairies are just saying, that is what brings that fruition of your hopes, your dreams, your goals through to you. And that will bring you some, maybe even physical healing for those of you that need it, because a large percentage of our feeling yuck physically is actually emotionally based, so if you are under emotional pressure and you're not feeling great, it just seems to be so much worse than when you've got good news and you've got a physical ailment. Sometimes somehow it doesn't feel as bad as it does if you got bad news and had that same ailment. So the fairies are just saying, just keep that in mind as well. But really, they're saying there is light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah, all right. All is not lost. All is not as it seems. There's definitely something that is good that's on the way, something that's better that's on the way. You've just got to stay focused. You've just got to believe. You've just got to, every day make sure that you are being open to receive. We can see with her hand being open like that. She's open to receive and looking forward to good news. So, having the focus on the looking forward to good news is can bring that through to us. Okay, so thank you very much for being with me today. The load shedding has just started again, which is why the camera went a little bit wonky. So I'm sitting here in the dark, and please like, share, subscribe, check out any of the other paths if any of them appeal to you in any way. And until we meet again next time, you take care, stay blessed. Bye for now.